Until recently, the Catholic Church in Ireland went largely unquestioned as the Republic's highest moral authority, and its teachings on sexual behaviour were simple and strict. Sex outside marriage was not only objectionable, but like murder, a mortal sin. And women who fell under suspicion were condemned by both community and church as fallen women.
In Ireland, especially in them days, the church ruled the roost. The church was always right. You never criticised the priest, you never criticised them holy nuns. You did what they said, without questioning the reason why.
To think about your body was a sin, it wasn't right. It made me very angry to think these were the people who were God's vicars on earth, and they set an example to us. We were supposed to follow in their footsteps, and they were so cruel. They were really cruel to us. And let's face it, we never done anything wrong.
Priests in the Catholic Church take a vow of celibacy. As the brides of Christ, nuns live lives of holy self-denial. And in Ireland, in a time before sex education or contraception, it fell to the Church to teach young women that chastity in thought and deed was the only protection from the sin of sex. For those girls and young women being brought up in the care of the Church, not only was the message particularly powerful, this power could be cruelly abused. This is the story of 4 such women. Bridget Young grew up in a Catholic orphanage in Limerick.
When we started to develop, we were told quite clear from the nuns that there was no way that we could show breasts. Even through our clothes, we couldn't show breasts. We had to make ourselves as flat as pancakes.
Phyllis Valentine grew up in an orphanage in County Clare in the 1940s.
When you started developing, they put like a sort of a bodice. It was calico, just 2 straps on it, and it was tightened real tight round you. It was very uncomfortable and all. The nuns told you, if a girl was nice looking, or she had nice hair, the hair was cut, you know? And then when you started developing, and, well, girls, you know how they look down at their bodies when they're young, the nun would notice, or one of the monitors would notice and tell. You'd be brought into the big office, and you'd be sat down and told that it was a sin to be vain, it was a sin to go around swinging your hair, it was a sin to be looking at your body. You were told that by the nuns.
They used to touch you a lot. They used to line us up every Saturday night, and they used to make us strip naked for them. And they would be standing at the bottom of the laundry, and they would be laughing at us, and they would be criticising us. And if you were heavy, fat or whatever, shout abuse to us, you know. We had no privacy with them at all. No privacy. They enjoyed us stripped naked.
The unchallenged influence of the church over all girls and women meant that most approached courtship in a state of ignorance. Contraception was illegal and there was no sex education. But religious dogma alone failed to prevent many thousands of single young women from becoming pregnant. Christina Mulcahy went out with a soldier in 1940.
I didn't know anything about the facts of life, and I didn't know that I would conceive her. So I stayed with him, and he said he loved me. And I thought to myself, well, if he loves me that much, why would he persuade me to do this, have sex with him? And he said that this was the only true way to show that you love somebody. And I met him again then. He said, well, you did it before, why can't you do it now? And that was the time I got pregnant.
Frequently rejected by their families and with no one by nuns, such places were regarded as charitable, but in reality they treated the mothers as fallen women in need of punishment. In 1940, Christina had a baby boy and was still hoping to marry his father.
I was writing from the home, I was writing letters to him, but he came to see me when the baby was born, and with the nuns had sat at the other end within ear of what we were saying. And he said that I could put his name down for the baby's name, and I discussed that with the matron. But then he was gone, and he wasn't getting the letters that I was writing out. They weren't sending them to him at all. He never got the letters that I wrote out, and I never got any letters from him. So I lost out on him. I would have married him. I loved him.
Nuns arranged for illegitimate babies to be placed in their orphanages, often to be fostered or adopted. To the mothers it seemed that they had no choice but to give their babies away. Nothing could prepare the unmarried mother for the sudden loss of a baby that she had loved and nurtured, sometimes for almost a year.
He was only 10 months old when she said to me one day, as soon as you're finished in the nursery, come to my office, and you're going home today. And I was breastfeeding the baby at the time. And I said, can I go back and say goodbye to the baby? What does he know about anything? Go back and upset him. I said, you're not going back, there's a car waiting. And I said, no time to say goodbye. No time to say goodbye.
In the village communities of rural Ireland, the stigma of bearing an illegitimate baby was so great that many mothers were rejected by their families. After being separated from her son, Christina was driven back to her village of Carrigan in County Galway.
My father came to the gate, and two little brothers and little sister, and they stopped, and he said to me, what do you think you want? I said, I want to come home. You're not coming to this house. You're not coming into this house. You've disgraced us. You're right in the head. You can't be right in your head to bring a child into this world, and you deserve punishment.
The punishment was to be sent to one of Ireland's 10 Magdalene asylums. These institutions, run by orders of nuns like the Good Shepherds, had been built in the 19th century outside Dublin, Limerick and other Irish cities. Named after Mary Magdalene, the prostitute who repented and was forgiven by Jesus, the original purpose of the Magdalene asylums was to chastise and correct the fallen woman who had sold her body for sex. But by the 1940s, the majority of the inmates were unmarried mothers. Some girls, however, were sent there simply because of a suspicion that their chastity had been violated. Martha Cooney grew up on a farm in County Roscommon.
When I was 14, I was sent to a cousin to help on the farm, and he took me to a farm fair. And he had a lot to drink, and on the way home he indecently assaulted me. And I told a cousin what happened, and the cousin reported the matter, and they got rid of me very quickly. The biggest sin in Ireland, well, apart from having a baby in them days without being married, was to talk. You never let the neighbours know, and to get rid of you. There's no talk, there's no scandal, and they weren't sure, so that was the safest bet. Away to Dublin, you see.
In 1941, aged 14, Martha was taken to one of Ireland's main Magdalene asylums, which provided